Okay, just around the right side of that point jutting out on the right side there, if you go around the right, that's Wolf Creek, and Hyla and her husband Jehu Carpenter own land at the mouth of Wolf Creek. And the Kitzmiller Cemetery, I believe that may be the original road right there, wrapping around, is underneath, on this point here, underneath the present day swimming area at the Bee Run launch area of Sutton Lake. So that cemetery was out here somewhere. So when you're swimming over the cemetery, if they didn't dig up any of the, forgot a few of the graves, you're swimming over top some graves here. Because odds are there are some. There was 120 roughly graves that they did move from here mainly to the Braxton Memorial Gardens, which is just half a mile from here. This is the relocated Kitzmiller Cemetery at the Braxton Memorial Gardens. Okay, I paid a visit to the Sutton Public Library to look at the maps, the original map of the Kitzmiller Cemetery, as well as the relocation map up here at Braxton Memorial Gardens. There were two references on the map for Hyla. Hyla, Mitchell, Thayer, Carpenter. Another one? Yeah, we'll look up, see what that says. It's probably one of her relatives. The first relocation map said that's Jehu and Rose Carpenter. Very distantly related by marriage. She should have been right here. But another map had some parentheses around her name and a few others said it was moved. And after we'd been searching for, I don't know, a good half hour here, I came over here just to kind of gauge about where we thought she would be and poked around. And you can see right here, there's another stone here. Mm-hmm. This is how far underground some of these relocated markers. These are the markers that the Corps of Engineers created in 59 and 60 to relocate the graves where they knew the information. In any event, a good distance from the Jehu Rose stone over there, I came about this distance thinking this is where Hyla would be. Hyla is the wife of Jehu Carpenter, the first child of Thomas and Eunice Carpenter, regarding the book that I'm doing. Oh, that was way off. And we found a couple markers here, including Hyla's. We'll show you this in a second. I don't know who this is going to be.
Artie? I can't read it. Can you read it?
Artie Carpenter. Okay, I'll have to look in that. And you know what? That one's set in concrete.
Yeah, some
are the others?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, must just be a baby, 1907, 1907. So this is not, I don't believe this is Hyla's. This has to be one of her grandkids. There's, who knows how many more are buried like this. People don't keep them up. Now that we know, so if I hadn't been doing this book, I wouldn't have come over here, spent the time at the public library to find these people. So we got lucky. I mean, I really got lucky. I hadn't probed the ground.
RDM.
All right.
225. GR 225 is the marker.
And hers is 223, right?
223.
All right, let's show where hers was. As you can see, we kind of laid the grass back on it to show you, but I had to hit this just by pure accident, and it's the one I'm looking for. That looks like it's in concrete. Yep. Are they all in concrete then?
I think so.
Okay. All right, clean that off a little. Yeah, that looks good.
223?
It doesn't have any
no
birth or death year for her, but it just has her. She was number 2 on GR, stands for the Kitzmiller Cemetery. The 23 means she was the 23rd grave marked there before they moved them up here. So found it. That'll probably stay cleared off for a while now. We have to probe a little bit more if we found these two. Wow. Kitzmiller Cemetery is pretty close here. Now, Hyla has a lot of descendants here. She was a Thayer. There's a bunch of Thayers over here and Tinglers, which I actually talked to Robert Tingler up in Stowe, Ohio. This is where some of his is. That his grandmother, Myrtle Kitts Tingler, is way up there. Kitts Tingler is a granddaughter of Hyla Thayer Carpenter. And as we were here, we were just prodding around and found 6, 7 graves that were totally uncovered. That's Robert Tingler, who's a child of Ollie and his second wife, Audra. Here's Infant Tingler, 1915. Arlie Tingler, 1909. Hattie Mae, 1917. And 3 unknowns in a row, and we just stopped at this point here. This is the road that leads down into the Baker's Run campground, the non-paved way. And this road right in here turned and went right down to where the boat launch is, and then across over there, according to the 1960 map made by the Corps of Engineers when they relocated cemeteries. In this long straightaway here, that's actually the railroad grade. And it continues right here. This is the old railroad grade. The newer railroad grade is just right up the hill there. And what I'm looking for is what's called the old Baker's Run Cemetery. Should be able to see the tracks up there. Now, according to the Corps' 1960 map, as far as finding this, I already did a sighting with my sighting compass. And it said north 62 degrees west, and I sighted it down this railroad grade, and that's the exact sighting that the compass gives. And it says, as far as a point I have to find on this railroad grade before I go into the woods to look for the cemetery, is where the road crossed here. It said the railroad crossing. It's 390 feet back the other way. So I've got to kind of estimate about where this road right here, because this road is on the 1960 map, where this road would have come in and turned, because it takes a fairly sharp turn here. So I'm guessing right about in here. So we're going to measure off 390 feet. We'll pick it up at that point. Okay, right over there about 100 feet is the railroad grade. I've measured out at the angle degrees that it's said to. And this large tree right here is at about 100 feet. And the cemetery's angled back that way. It could be, right here's a nice open area. It could be where all this little stuff is growed up, right here. Or here's another area just right in here. Unfortunately, there's just nothing left. No stones or anything that I see. There is some evidence of structure in here. I think it shows on the 1910 map. It's a steel well case in there. There's all types of brick here. No writing on these bricks all around it. Red brick. This is about 40 to 50 feet in. Cemeteries up here. I was kind of looking for some posts. We're supposed to be at the 29-foot mark, but good luck on that. It's like the cedar tree that was supposed to be near the cemetery. I've walked this entire length. There's no cedars in here. I'm about 50 feet away from it. You see where the holly is and all that little stuff? I believe right there on that knoll would have been it. That's where my measurements took me, exactly there. In fact, the big tree was pretty close to where the mark on the grave number 1 was. And it goes at an angle kind of back towards the railroad grade, maybe about 30 degrees backwards. Now right in here, it's a mess, and just no stones or anything. I have gone 100 feet both sides of where I thought this would be. There's nothing. The only thing that even resembles an open area where there would have been, according to the Corps map, a 20 by 40 foot area where the 7 graves were at, is right here. Right where I first started, where I first measured. That tree would be close to where the first stone is, and it would angle back to where I'm standing here. But you can see there's a nice open area right here in the woods, and a lot of new underbrush. And by new, that holly trees grow so slow that those could be 50, 60-year-old hollies right there. Okay, according to a book of deaths in Braxton County, published in 1917, Jehu John Carpenter, first child of Tom and Eunice Carpenter, was buried at Baker's Run Cemetery. And you see here's the marker they put at the Braxton Memorial Gardens. I don't think he had a marked grave, because the only stones that are here, we've uncovered all 7 of them, and it corresponds with what someone put on Find a Grave. It has GR numbers 5. It's probably hard to see there. Let me get to a better one. Here we go. GR number 5, number 2, because 5/1 through 7. 6 of them, except number 2 here, just says unknown Baker. This one says Baker. What we don't know is does that mean it's just an unknown person at the Baker's Run Cemetery, or were these Baker family members? Apparently, people didn't know. So if they didn't know who it was, I don't know how they knew how it was a Baker. Jehu Carpenter was supposed to be buried there. We found his wife's grave, which was earlier in this video. There's 6 and 7. That's it. I'm going to throw this in here. It's called downriver of Baker's Run, about a mile. There's a place called PawPaw Gap. So I believe it's this right in here. And if you look at the sharp bend in the river there, hopefully you can see that. See where it comes down here and then kind of makes a 90-degree turn to the right. Right out in this area, somewhere on this flat, was the PawPaw Gap Cemetery. Now this one would have been underwater, unlike the Baker's Run Cemetery, which would just be in the flood. I don't know if this was built up here when I'm walking on, because they're obviously taking care of this the way this grass is. Let's see, the core's been... Oh, right there's the culvert. I could tell you right now, that map only showed 100 feet from that culvert in a northerly direction. Let me get my compass out and see. Boy, that's an old culvert there that goes under the railroad grade. The size of these stones. This is older. These are the culverts I was just telling you about. And the map said north 100 feet from here. Have to see where that's at. It's got to be right in the sighting compass I've been using. I've got it pointed directly at north. It's got a little notch over the top of it. You could sight back. It says 100 feet north. Now whether that's the center of the cemetery, I don't know. I don't have the map with me. Yeah, this is interesting. There's some old foundation right out here. Oh, here's stones. You know, I bet some of these were left. Clearly, here I luck out finding a graveyard I wasn't really looking to find. but that's the type of stones they would have used for their cemetery. So I'm right at it. So if I could find this based on those maps, I was at the Baker's Run Cemetery. There's just nothing left. But look at how this is broke up. The concrete is broke up and it looks like rocks. One of my other videos, there's areas like that where all the rock is shattered. This may have been some type of marker here. I'll have to go get that out and I'll put the PawPaw Gap Cemetery in, so we can figure out what this is. Bricks out here. So, as I said, if the core maps takes me right here, especially with stones like that sticking up, which are definitely indications there were graves here. If that's the case, I was at the Baker's Run. It's just in the woods. There's nothing left of it. Remember, there were only 7 graves there that they moved with field stones. You just look at this part of the lake, how wide this is and how shallow it would be. This is Sutton Lake up the elk past where the forks of the Holly and Elk come together, close to Baker's Run. Like I said, we're about a mile downriver from it. Very interesting foundation here. Maybe this was a mausoleum. Who knows? Because right back there is the last thing before I leave here. On the opposite bank over there of the Elk River, the map shows one structure. Remember I told you about how these bricks have broken down over the years, being submerged in water? Let's see if I can get this in here. Right there is probably where that other structure was shown on the 1910 map. And you see, there's no other rocks on there. It's basically a smooth shoreline. This road connects back into the railroad grade. But if you look at the hump right there in the center of the screen, here's where it crossed Baker's Run, so they would have had a trestle right there going into the other side. And according to the 1910 map, in this corner, as you're looking down the creek towards the Elk River there, that church sat to the left of the creek and before you got to the railroad grade. So anywhere in here, it's hard to say the way they drew those maps. I mean, it's close to this area, this big field here, about where my truck is parked. But there's no foundation evidence that I can see here. Now, according to that 1910 map, if you'll look at it, on both sides of the hump there were structures. So hopefully we'll find something on both sides here. Just to orient you, we're now, as you're looking down the Baker's Run Creek, on the uphill side of the railroad grade there that you see in the background. We're on the right side. Clearly there was something big here. That huge cut stone there is 5 feet across, 18 inches squared. Probably some type of hearthstone to a structure. And if you look here, there's some other squared off rocks laying on the ground. If you look on that 1910 map, again, I'll dub that in. There were structures right along through here and on the back side of the hump. This is where the majority of the structures were. That 1910 map calls this place Baker's Run, Levi, L-E-V-I, Post Office. That's some old cut wood there, clearly. Some rough cut wood laying here. Clearly there's some type of foundation here. If you look at those two on the corners, they're level. The one in the center's not. Well, if I didn't know better, I'd say it's a cemetery. But I'm going to tell you why I don't think it is. I mean, that's a pretty big stone right there. And it won't budge. I've pushed on it. You see the moss fern-covered stone there. Like I said, that looks like a cemetery. And down here in the water's edge, there's a stone laying there that's cut off square. There's no way the Bakers Run Cemetery is this far over. It's impossible. It wouldn't jive with the Corps map. They'd have moved the cemetery symbol over a lot further. The other reason I don't think it is this right here. This round area is a well. It's a stone-lined well, old well. They have filled it in with rocks. And another reason, here again are some more stones in the ground, right there. Right there. Another one right here. This is where all the structures were according to the map. And given this well is right here, pretty sure they wouldn't have put a cemetery right behind it. And again, you can judge for yourself on the Corps map and freeze frame the diagrams that I put in. I mean, I have the overview map that shows where I think I have it colored. The red line is the railroad grade, the yellow line is the old road where it crossed. And from there it said 400 feet. Well, we're over 1,000 feet down here. Plus we're right next to the creek. So these are house structures of some type, building structures sitting in here. It's the old B&O railroad grade right up here. You can see what a straight shot they made this railroad. Perfectly level. You can't even tell there's a grade here as far as incline or decline. And of course it did go this way. They had that dirt humped up so people can't drive on it. And the reason they diverted around is they didn't want to build a bridge over the Bakers Run Creek. They just built a low water culvert over here. Well, some evidence of the Levi Post Office Bakers Run community that was once here. I'm a little disappointed I didn't find evidence of the cemetery, although I'm pretty confident I was at the right spot. This is what I meant by like a low water bridge here. There's some culverts underneath this. Imagine when it really gets up near flooding conditions, it pours over top this. But you could see how big of a bridge they would have had to build there. That's the gap in between the railroad grade there that you're looking through. So they diverted around it here. This is at the boat launch at Bakers Run. There's the boat launch. Elk River. According to the map the Corps did, the road crossed right here. It does look relatively shallow. To the other side there, then wrapped around back that way. There's that knob again. The railroad grade goes behind it. I think you should be able to see it down there. Down there. When you drive in the paved access to the Bakers Run campground, you'll kind of notice you're on an extremely level grade with very gentle curves. And the reason for that is you're actually on the old B&O railroad grade. The relocated grade is to the left a little bit further up the hill. You'll see this nice grade is just right next to the Elk River. And the map that I'll post from 1910 will show that on both ends of the campground. We're still on the upriver end right here. So this is where the train would have went well over 100 years ago. As you come into the campground, you can see it's still level And in fact, at the end of the downriver end of the campground, it turns into a gravel road, and you follow that for a while. Now, it does diverge from the railroad grade a bit, but the road you actually drive on there, if you've ever been out to what they call the tunnel fishing road, I think that's about the name of it, it diverges just a little from there, but that's where the grade used to be. Now, this is at the downriver end of the campground, so we're getting out of the campground. The sign says Tunnel Road Fishing Access, but this gravel road that we're driving on right now is the old railroad grade at Baker's Run.